On the planet Illyria, there was a young princess named Lyra. She lived in a tall glass tower that looked over the bright blue fields and tall trees of her home world. The sky above was always clear and the sun shone with a gentle yellow light. Lyra's people, the Illyrians, were known across the stars for their peaceful nature and their love of science and art. Fighting and war were things from a distant past, spoken of only in stories for children. The world had not seen a battle in many generations, and the idea of warriors felt old and strange. Lyra was different from many others in her family. She loved the old stories. She wanted to know about faraway places and times long ago. Her favorite stories were about the humans, who once fought great battles and were said to have hearts of fire and steel. But to the Illyrians, humans were just a legend. Some said that humans were gone forever, lost to time, while others whispered that maybe one or two still lived somewhere far away. Lyra listened to the elders as they told stories about human courage, strength, and the way they stood against great dangers. She would stare out her window at the stars and wonder if any of it was true. One morning, as Lyra walked through the royal gardens, her mother, Queen Ariel, called to her. The queen's face was serious, and Lyra knew something important was about to happen. She followed her mother to the council room, where the elders and scientists sat in a circle, speaking in soft voices. Lyra could hear the worry in their words. For months, strange things had been happening on the far edge of Illyrian space. There were reports of missing ships, broken satellites, and signals that could not be explained. The council feared that something dangerous was out there, just beyond their peaceful borders. Queen Ariel turned to Lyra. She explained that the Illyrian people needed to know what was happening, and they needed someone brave to go to the distant outpost and help. Lyra felt her heart race. This was her chance to see the stars, to prove herself, and to learn the truth about the old legends. She stood tall and told her mother that she would go. The queen smiled, proud but worried for her daughter's safety. Lyra packed her things and said goodbye to her family. She boarded a small silver shuttle with a group of diplomats, engineers, and a few scientists. They traveled through space for many days, passing planets and stars Lyra had only seen in books. As they drew near the outpost, Lyra felt both nervous and excited. She wondered what she would find there. Maybe it would be nothing, just a simple problem to fix. But deep down, she hoped for something more. She wanted to see if the stories of humans were true. When the shuttle arrived at the outpost, Lyra saw it was built on a lonely, rocky moon. The building was tall and round, made of metal and glass, shining under a pale sun. The outpost was filled with many different beings from across the galaxy. There were tall blue-furred aliens, small green ones with wide eyes, and even a few robots rolling quietly through the halls. Everyone seemed busy, talking in many languages and checking glowing screens. Lyra felt out of place, but also excited to meet so many new faces. As Lyra walked through the main hall, she was greeted by the leader of the outpost, a calm woman named Captain Harper. The captain welcomed Lyra and explained the trouble they were having. Ships had vanished, machines were breaking down, and no one could explain why. Lyra listened closely and promised to help however she could. She was shown to her quarters, a small room with a view of the stars. That night, as she lay in bed, she wondered if her dreams were finally coming true. For the next few days, Lyra met with different crew members and learned about the outpost's work. She listened to their stories and watched as they tried to fix the broken machines. Some people spoke in whispers about shadows moving in the darkness outside. Others talked about strange noises or missing supplies. Lyra took notes and tried to see if there was any pattern. Even though she was far from home, she felt alive and ready for adventure. One evening, as Lyra sat in the dining hall, she heard a group of engineers laughing about an old Earth story. They joked about human warriors and how no one really believed in them anymore. Lyra smiled to herself, remembering the tales from her childhood. She still wondered if she would ever meet a real human, or if they would always remain a legend. As the days passed, she began to sense that something big was about to happen, something that would change her life forever. The next morning, Lyra woke early and looked out at the rocky moon through her window. She was still thinking about the stories of humans. She wondered if anyone else on the outpost believed in the old legends. She decided to walk around and talk to the other people living and working there. In the control room, the lights were bright and the screens showed maps of space around the outpost. A group of engineers were trying to fix a broken sensor. Lyra watched them for a while. One of the engineers, a young man named Alex, noticed her and smiled. He asked if she needed help with anything. Lyra said she was just looking around and learning how the outpost worked. Alex showed her how to read some of the maps. He said it was good to have someone from Illyria here because everyone trusted the Illyrians to keep peace. While they talked, a soft alarm sounded. Captain Harper entered the room and spoke quietly with the engineers. Lyra could tell that something was wrong. Soon, the captain called everyone together and explained that another patrol ship had stopped sending signals during the night. People in the room looked worried. Lyra listened and promised herself that she would try to help, even if she was just a guest. After the meeting, Captain Harper introduced Lyra to a new member of the outpost's security team. He was tall and quiet, with short dark hair and calm blue eyes. His name was Ethan. He wore a simple uniform, but there was something different about him. Lyra felt a strange feeling in her chest. She remembered the stories about human warriors, how they were supposed to look strong, how their eyes could see into your soul. She wondered if this man could be a real human. Ethan greeted Lyra with a nod and a small smile. He did not talk much, but his voice was gentle. Captain Harper explained that Ethan had special training and would help keep Lyra safe while she was at the outpost. Lyra wanted to ask him where he came from, but she was shy. She watched him as he checked his equipment. His movements were slow and careful. Some of the other crew members seemed a little nervous around him, but no one said anything. It was as if they all knew he was different but did not want to talk about it. For the next few days, Lyra and Ethan worked together. They visited the cargo rooms, checked the outpost sensors, and talked to other crew members. Lyra noticed that Ethan was always watching, always listening. Nothing seemed to escape his attention. He did not tell many stories about himself. When Lyra asked about his past, he only said that he came from a place far away and had seen many things. He did not smile often, but when he did, it made Lyra feel safe. One afternoon, Lyra and Ethan were walking near the outer airlock when the alarms sounded again. A small transport ship was coming in fast, spinning out of control. Ethan and Lyra rushed to the main landing area with the other crew. They saw the ship was damaged, with smoke coming from the engines. Ethan gave quick, calm orders to the crew, telling them where to stand and what to do. His voice was clear and strong. Lyra watched as he led the rescue team, helping pull the pilot and co-pilot out of the wreck. Everyone listened to him, even the older engineers. After the rescue, the pilot told a frightening story. He said that something had attacked his ship out in the dark, near the edge of Illyrian space. He had not seen what it was, only strange lights, and then his controls stopped working. Lyra listened and looked at Ethan. His face was serious, but his eyes were full of questions. She could tell that he wanted to find out the truth about what was happening. That night, Lyra could not sleep. She walked to the viewing room, where you could see the stars through a big glass window. She found Ethan there, standing alone and looking out at space. She walked up to him and stood quietly by his side. After a while, she asked him if he believed in the old stories about human warriors. Ethan was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Sometimes stories are true, even when nobody believes them." Lyra did not know what to say. She looked at Ethan, and for a moment she thought she saw something in his eyes, a deep sadness, but also hope. She realized that maybe the old legends were not just stories. Maybe they were memories. As she stood beside Ethan, she wondered what other secrets this quiet human might be hiding, and if he really was the warrior from her childhood dreams. The next day started quietly at the outpost, but there was a feeling in the air that something was about to happen. Lyra woke early, feeling restless. She walked the long hallways, passing by crew members busy with their morning work. Everyone seemed more tense than usual. News of the damaged transport ship had spread, and people whispered about what could have attacked it. Lyra tried to listen, but no one had answers. Captain Harper called a meeting in the control room. She spoke to the crew and thanked Ethan for his help during the rescue. She said everyone needed to be alert and ready for anything. Ethan listened carefully and nodded. Lyra saw how people looked at him, some with respect and others with a little fear. They all seemed to trust him to protect them, even though they did not know his story. After the meeting, Ethan asked Lyra to join him for a walk around the outpost's outside walls. He said it was important to check for damage. They wore special suits to breathe and stepped into the airlock. As they walked on the rocky ground, Lyra asked Ethan about his life. Ethan said he grew up on a planet far from here, where things were not easy. He said humans learned to fight to protect each other, but also to help others. Lyra listened closely, curious about what made humans so different. As they walked, Lyra noticed that Ethan checked every small detail. He watched the shadows, listened for strange sounds, and always made sure Lyra was safe. She realized that his calm and careful way was not just for himself but for everyone around him. Ethan stopped at one point and looked up at the sky. He pointed to a distant flash of light. Lyra saw it too, a quick, bright shimmer that vanished just as quickly. Ethan said it might be another ship, or maybe something else. He told Lyra they should be ready for anything. Suddenly, the outpost's alarm sounded. Lyra and Ethan rushed back inside, moving quickly through the narrow hallways. The main hall was full of people looking worried. Captain Harper explained that something was happening near the main cargo bay. Lyra followed Ethan and a group of security officers. When they reached the bay, they found a group of small machines moving through the shadows. The machines looked strange and moved in a way that made Lyra feel uneasy. Ethan stepped forward and told the others to stay back. He looked at the machines, then moved quickly, almost faster than Lyra's eyes could follow. He picked up a piece of metal and used it to block the path of the machines. The machines tried to get past, but Ethan stayed calm and kept them away from the doors. Lyra watched in amazement. She had never seen anyone move like that. It was almost as if he knew what the machines would do before they did it. The other crew members worked together, shutting off the power to the bay. The machines stopped moving and fell silent. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Captain Harper thanked Ethan and said his quick thinking had saved the cargo. Lyra could see that some of the crew were looking at Ethan with new respect. Even the ones who were afraid of him now seemed grateful. Later, Lyra and Ethan sat together in a quiet room. Lyra asked how he knew what to do. Ethan explained that when he was younger, he had trained to watch, to wait, and to act only when it was right. He said being a warrior was not just about fighting. It was about thinking, protecting, and helping others. Lyra thought about this for a long time. She realized the old stories had not told the whole truth about humans. In the days that followed, Lyra and Ethan worked together more often. They talked about their lives and their worlds. Ethan told stories about Earth, about times when humans had to be brave and help each other. Lyra saw that Ethan was strong, but he was also kind and patient. She started to wonder if her people could learn something from him. One evening, as they watched the stars, Lyra asked Ethan if he missed his home. Ethan was quiet for a moment, then said that he missed some things but was glad to help here. He said it was important to do what you could, wherever you were. Lyra felt comforted by his words. She realized that maybe heroes were not just in stories. Maybe they were real, and maybe she had just met one. As the stars shone outside, Lyra thought about all she had learned. She knew the outpost was still in danger, but now she felt stronger. She knew she could face what was coming, as long as she had friends like Ethan by her side. In the days after the attack on the cargo bay, Lyra noticed that the outpost was different. The people were still worried, but now they looked to Ethan more often. When a door would not open or when a machine made a strange noise, they would ask him for help. He always listened, gave advice, and helped fix the problem if he could. Even the ones who were scared of him now seemed to trust him a little more. Lyra watched all of this and tried to understand why people respected him. She realized it was not just because he was strong, but because he cared about everyone. One morning, Captain Harper called Lyra and Ethan to her office. She said they needed to find out what was causing the attacks and problems. There was a hidden pattern to the trouble, but no one had solved it yet. Captain Harper wanted Lyra and Ethan to leave the outpost and search for clues. She gave them a small ship, some food, and a map of nearby space. She told them to be careful and to return if anything felt wrong. Lyra was nervous, but also excited. She wanted to help, and she wanted to learn more about Ethan. They set off together in the small ship. The stars outside were bright and the space was quiet. Ethan showed Lyra how to use the controls. He was patient, letting her try things herself. Lyra liked learning from him. As they traveled, they talked about their families, their dreams, and the things they missed from home. Lyra asked Ethan about his training. He said it was hard but worth it. He told her that warriors learn to protect, but also to forgive. Lyra thought about her own people and wondered if they could be both strong and gentle too. Suddenly, their ship picked up a strange signal. It was coming from an old mining station on a small, empty planet. Lyra and Ethan decided to check it out. When they landed, the station was dark and empty. There were signs of a struggle, broken lights, scattered tools, and strange marks on the walls. Ethan moved quietly, checking each room. Lyra followed close behind, feeling her heart beat faster. In one room, they found a computer that was still working. Ethan showed Lyra how to read the messages stored inside. Together, they found clues that pointed to a group of people who wanted to start trouble between different worlds. Lyra asked Ethan why anyone would want to do that. He said sometimes people are afraid of things that are different. He told her that fear could make people do bad things. Lyra remembered how her own people used to be afraid of humans, and she understood a little more. As they searched the station, they heard voices outside. Lyra peeked through a window and saw a small group of aliens in dark clothes, carrying strange tools. Ethan told Lyra to stay low and quiet. He watched the group, looking for a way out. When the aliens came inside, Ethan stayed calm. He waited until they were busy, then led Lyra through a back door. They moved quickly, not making any sound. Outside, they hid behind a pile of crates. Ethan whispered that they had to warn the outpost and tell Captain Harper what they found. Lyra sent a message back to the outpost. She felt scared but trusted Ethan. He told her that courage is not about never being afraid, but about doing what is right even when you are. Lyra nodded and tried to be brave like him. They sneaked back to their ship. Just as they reached it, the group of aliens noticed them and started to chase. Ethan told Lyra to run while he tried to slow the group down. Lyra hesitated, but Ethan told her to trust him. She ran to the ship and started the engines, her hands shaking. She saw Ethan fighting off the aliens, moving fast and with skill. When he jumped onto the ship, she flew them away as fast as she could. When they were safely back in space, Lyra hugged Ethan and thanked him for saving her. He smiled, tired but glad she was safe. They sent all the information to Captain Harper. Lyra felt proud. She knew that together, they were strong. As they made their way back to the outpost, Lyra thought about everything she had learned from Ethan. She wanted to be brave, not just for herself, but for everyone who needed help. In the quiet of space, Lyra realized she was changing. She was not just the curious princess who loved stories. She was becoming someone new, someone who could make a difference, just like the heroes she had always dreamed about. When Lyra and Ethan returned to the outpost, the mood was tense. People hurried through the halls, talking in low voices. Lyra could tell that everyone was worried. Captain Harper called an emergency meeting. She thanked Lyra and Ethan for their brave work and shared the news that a group was trying to start a fight between different worlds. The captain told the crew they needed to stay calm and work together. Lyra saw the worry on her friends' faces. She wished there was more she could do. Later that day, something strange happened. The main computer shut down and the lights went out. For a moment, everything was dark and quiet. Then, red emergency lights flashed. People ran to their stations, trying to fix the problem. Lyra heard someone shout that the backup power was also failing. She rushed to the control room and found Ethan already there. He was working quickly, checking the wires and buttons. Lyra tried to help, even though she was scared. Suddenly, a voice came over the speakers. It was a message from someone in the shadows, saying that Ethan was to blame for the trouble. The voice said that Ethan had brought danger to the outpost, and that he could not be trusted. Lyra looked at Ethan. He was calm, but she could see the sadness in his eyes. She knew this was a trick to make people afraid of him. Some crew members began to whisper about Ethan. They remembered the old stories about human warriors and wondered if he was dangerous. Lyra spoke up, telling everyone that Ethan had saved her life. She said he was not the enemy, but her words were not enough to calm all their fears. Captain Harper looked troubled. She told Ethan and Lyra to stay in their quarters until she could figure out what to do. In the small room, Lyra and Ethan waited. Lyra felt angry and helpless. She wanted to prove that Ethan was not to blame. Ethan told her that sometimes people turn against each other when they are scared. He said they had to be patient and look for the truth. Lyra nodded, but she could not sit still. She paced the room, trying to think of a plan. After a while, a quiet knock came at the door. It was Alex, the engineer. He slipped inside and told them he believed Ethan was innocent. He said he had seen something strange in the computer logs. Someone had used Ethan's name to break into the system. Alex promised to help them find the real culprit. With Alex's help, Lyra and Ethan snuck out of their room and went to the computer lab. They worked together to search the logs and find proof. It was hard work, and Lyra felt nervous, but Ethan was calm. He showed Lyra how to look for clues. They found a hidden message that proved someone else was behind the attacks. Lyra was excited, but careful. She knew they had to bring this proof to Captain Harper. As they tried to leave, they heard footsteps in the hallway. Ethan told Lyra to hide while he checked outside. 2 security guards were searching for them. Ethan told the guards that they needed to speak to Captain Harper right away. The guards did not trust Ethan at first, but Lyra showed them the proof they had found. The guards agreed to help and took them to the captain. In the captain's office, Lyra explained everything. She showed the messages and the logs, proving that Ethan was innocent. Captain Harper was quiet for a long time. Finally, she stood up and told everyone in the room that Ethan had been framed. She thanked Lyra and Alex for their courage. She told the crew over the speakers that Ethan was not the enemy and that someone else was trying to hurt the outpost. Afterward, Lyra felt relieved but tired. She thanked Ethan for trusting her, and he thanked her for believing in him. They both knew the fight was not over, but now they had each other and they had hope. As the outpost returned to normal, Lyra promised herself that she would never let fear control her actions. She would always stand by her friends, no matter what. Even though Ethan was now cleared of blame, the outpost was still in danger. Lyra felt the tension in every corner. People moved quietly, keeping close to friends. The leaders knew that the group trying to start a fight between worlds had not given up. Lyra and Ethan spent their days helping wherever they could. They fixed broken doors, listened to worried crew members, and shared the truth about the attack. Lyra was proud that more people were beginning to believe in Ethan again. One afternoon, Alex ran to Lyra and Ethan with important news. He had found another message hidden in the computer system. This one showed that the enemy group was planning a final attack on the outpost. They wanted to cause chaos and make everyone turn against each other. Captain Harper called a meeting and asked Lyra, Ethan, and Alex to help plan a defense. Together, they worked on a plan. Ethan's calm ideas and quick thinking helped everyone focus. He suggested that they use the outpost's cameras and alarms to watch for trouble. Lyra helped by talking to different groups on the outpost, asking them to trust each other and work as one team. Alex set up special codes to protect the computers. As the plan came together, people started to feel a little more hope. That night, the attack began. Alarms sounded and shadows moved through the halls. Some people were afraid, but many stood together, ready to protect their home. Ethan led a small group to the power room, where the enemy had broken in. He moved quietly and quickly, showing everyone what a real warrior could do. Lyra followed with another group, helping people stay calm and guiding them to safety. Inside the power room, Ethan faced the leaders of the enemy group. They tried to turn off the power and shut down the outpost. Ethan blocked their path and spoke to them in a strong, clear voice. He told them that fighting would only bring more pain. He asked them to stop and think about what they were doing. Some of the enemy leaders did not listen, but a few stopped and looked uncertain. A fight broke out. Ethan moved like the stories from Lyra's childhood, fast, smart, and brave. He protected his team and stopped the enemy from hurting anyone. Lyra and Alex worked together to turn the power back on. In the end, the enemy leaders were captured and the rest ran away. The outpost was safe, but everyone was tired and shaken. When the danger was over, Captain Harper gathered everyone. She thanked Lyra, Ethan, and Alex for their courage. She told the crew that together, they had protected their home. People clapped and cheered. Lyra looked at Ethan and saw that even though he was tired, he was smiling. She felt proud to know him. In the days after the attack, the outpost began to heal. People from different worlds talked more and helped each other. Lyra saw that the old fear between groups was smaller now. She knew that they could build a better future, one where everyone worked together. Lyra talked to Ethan about what had happened. He said that being a warrior was not just about fighting. It was about caring for others and helping them do what is right. Lyra understood now. She felt ready for whatever came next, knowing that she had friends she could trust and a new sense of courage in her heart. The days after the last attack were peaceful, but life at the outpost had changed. The crew worked together with new trust. People who once stayed with their own group now shared meals and stories. Lyra walked the halls and felt hope in the air. She saw crew members from many worlds laughing together and helping each other. It was as if the outpost had become a real home for everyone. Captain Harper thanked Lyra, Ethan, and Alex for their courage. She gave a speech to the crew, saying that working together had saved them all. She said that fear was powerful, but friendship and understanding were stronger. The crew clapped and many smiled at Ethan. Lyra felt proud, not just for herself, but for everyone who had learned to trust again. Lyra saw how much Ethan meant to the outpost. Some people still looked at him with wonder, as if he was part of an old legend come to life. Children followed him through the halls, asking questions about Earth and old battles. Ethan always answered with kindness. He told them that being a warrior was about helping others, not just fighting. Lyra knew these words would be remembered. Over time, news of the outpost's bravery spread across the stars. Leaders from other worlds sent messages of thanks. Some even asked to visit and learn how the crew had worked together to stop the attacks. Lyra helped to welcome visitors and told them the story of how everyone had become friends. She spoke about how courage could be quiet and gentle, not always loud or full of action. One evening, Lyra sat with Ethan on the rooftop garden. They watched the stars and talked about what would come next. Lyra wondered if she should return home to Illyria or stay at the outpost. She asked Ethan what he would do. Ethan said he would go where he was needed, but he was happy to stay as long as people wanted his help. Lyra realized that home was not just a place, but the people you cared about. In the weeks that followed, Lyra worked with Captain Harper to start a new program. They invited people from many worlds to learn about each other's customs and stories. There were classes, games, and shared meals. Old fears slowly faded, replaced by respect and curiosity. Lyra saw that her dream was coming true. The outpost was a place of peace and learning, not just safety. One day, a group of elders from Illyria visited. They wanted to see the outpost and meet the famous human warrior. Lyra introduced them to Ethan. At first, the elders were quiet, not sure what to say, but Ethan welcomed them warmly. He told them about his home, his training, and why he believed in helping others. Soon, the elders joined in the talks and laughed with the crew. They thanked Lyra for her bravery and said they were proud of her. As time passed, Ethan became a symbol of hope. People told stories about how he had saved the outpost and helped bring peace. Lyra saw how even old legends could shape the future if people were willing to listen and learn. She thought about the little girl she once was, listening to tales of human warriors. Now she knew those stories were true in a new way. Courage, kindness, and trust were the real magic. On the last day before the elders left, there was a big celebration in the outpost's main hall. People danced, shared food, and told stories from their worlds. Lyra stood with Ethan and looked at all the happy faces. She felt grateful for everything that had happened. She knew that together, they had built something new and beautiful. As the stars shone above, Lyra said goodbye to the elders and promised to visit Illyria soon. Ethan shook hands with new friends and smiled at the children who looked up to him. The outpost was safe, and its people were stronger than ever. Lyra knew that as long as people remembered the lessons of trust and courage, peace would last. She was no longer just a princess who loved stories. She was a leader and a friend, ready to help build a better future for everyone.